Okay, this video is talking about why, and to explain to the guys that don't know yet, why only some people make money on Google ads, okay? There's the number one reason, the reason why 90% of people don't make money with Google ads, and only, or the other way to say it is only some people make money, 10% or so. And why Google has done this on purpose. They're not a masochist here. It's for everybody's benefit. This is the way that it is. And you can kick and scream and stomp all you want. If your competitors, somehow they could do it and you can't. You want to know really how to get Google ads to work. You got to know this key fundamental thing that stops the 90% of people from making money with their Google, with what they're doing. So I'll explain what this key concept is about and how do you actually get around it so you don't fall into the trap, to the junkyard, to the graveyard with all these other 90% of people when they're starting out. So you could just completely hop over it and be the one of the 10% are actually successful. Okay? I've talked about these concepts here and there on my different videos on this channel. But I thought that this is actually important enough since enough people struggle with it. In our PPC firm that we have, people think they want it to work instantly. And I get a little tired of explaining it sometimes. So anytime I get lots of questions, I make a video out of it. I want you guys to know, basically, if everybody made money with Google, basically there wouldn't be any opportunity left because there's only so much space on Google, right? There's 50 people in your market. There's 4 people on top of Google. Who's going to be there, okay? Everybody knows about Google. Everybody wants to have that. There's some people that can afford it and actually follow through with the actual limitations that exist that you're not going to get around, deal with it, and actually be one of the elite ones that actually afford and just suck up all those customers on an ongoing basis. So anyway, we'll get into it here. Most people do not realize at all when they enter to do Google ads for the first time for their company that the ads are stacked against them. Like I said, 90% of people who try and double with Google ads for the first time are not going to make money. They'll go in, spend 15 minutes or so setting up their ads because it seems like that's all they got to do. Nobody's told them otherwise. And their money's gone in 2 seconds. And maybe they try it again later and they spend a little bit more time and then their money's gone and then they say it doesn't work or it's too hard. So more and more people aren't saying it doesn't work because it's been around. Google ads has been around long enough. People know better. But they say it's too hard and they just forget it most of the time now. Okay? But they end up quitting because they don't realize that the system's physically set up to have 2 strikes against them before they ever start, in that they kind of want you to fail unless you really, really want it. So in other words, another way to say it is, unless you really, really want it to work, you're not going to get it to work. Most things in life are this way. Anything that's easy to get in life isn't worth much, right? This is the same way. It's not impossible. Absolutely, it is possible for every single person who's watching this to get it to work. You just got to go in with understanding these key things going in and then do it right. You can make money every time. And why do I know that? Everybody could watch these videos. Very few people are actually going to do what's on these videos because it takes some effort. And by golly, anything that takes effort, most people are going to talk themselves out of it. So it's going to be wide open to the people that want to go through and really want it. So it's about how much do you want it. This is how Google actually wants to encourage their customers as a whole to do a better job with their ads to make Google and their ads, where the section on top of Google dedicated for ads, a better place. So respectively, why is that? Or why is it that they want people to do a better job? Well, essentially, first of all, like I said, only 10% of people make money. At any given time, people don't, this is the key concept that people don't understand. They think if they're going to advertise on Google Ads, boop, their ad just shows up there on top and Google had a spot for them. No. In a lot of cases, there's like 20 different people that are gunning for that, be at the top of Google at any given time. Again, everybody knows about Google Ads. There's different people trying at different times, in, out, whatever. But at any given time, there's like 20 people they're getting cycled in and out. And Google's constantly going through this process of figuring out who has the best ads so they can show those. It's not just about bidding more. They'll charge you more if you do a crappy job, but they'll end up charging you so much that essentially, without kicking you out outright, they get rid of you and stomp you like a little bug for not doing a good job serving people in the way that you would want to be served if you're making a Google search. If you're searching for Italian leather shoes on Google, you're pissed if somebody has an ad that says Italian leather shoes that was there automated, set up, and it sends people to a page on your site that has 50 different types of shoes on it. Even if you offer that, you're pissed about that situation. Everybody is. Why can't people just make sure they can, if they're going to see somebody and go after somebody that's going to be searching for Italian leather shoes, make an ad just for that person that explains, yes, we have Italian leather shoes, exactly. We have what you're here for. They're high quality. They're right over here. And then make darn sure you're sending people to the exact page with only Italian leather shoes offered and nothing else, or to the product page itself, something like that, so that the user, this is like common sense, but nobody's doing this 90% of the time, to where that's what the consumer wants. But yet, even though the business owners I talk to know about this, before, of course, I help them and all that, they just go, oh, I don't want to do that. That takes too much work. And then they don't get any results. Then they blame it on something else. But if you want to know why most people aren't getting to work, it's that. But respectively, Google, going back to what I was saying here specifically, is cycling out the 20 people or up to 20 people in those top 4 spots on Google in and out to find out who's there, who's going to be able to get the user who searches for Italian leather shoes to an initial satisfied, whatever being satisfied is for that particular keyword, a purchase, talk to somebody, whatever. And they'll, through their machine or split testing machine learning process, figure out for that particular keyword who's doing it the best job out of the 20, and then whoever the top 4 will get shown there most of the time. Now, it's not like a grandfathered, it's not like a good old boys club or anything like that. Google is constantly letting new people in, and they test. If you're new and you're coming in, they'll let your ad come in there and test and see if you're doing a good job. But if you're not, they'll raise the price to what you're charged for a click on that keyword up enough to where you're basically going to be gone pretty soon. Google's designed this system to encourage people to do a good job. And so, respectively, there's 2 to 3 that make money because the cost per click is so high that if you don't do a good job, you can't afford to be there. Okay? So Google is trying to encourage their customers to do a good job, and you're competing with upwards of 20 people at any given time for each keyword to see if you could take users from an initial inquisitive state to satisfied customer, or I got what information I was looking for at the time better than the other people that are trying currently, and then you earn your spot, essentially. So, respectively, that's the basics there. If you want to do a good job, you got to do that, and you're starting out with 2 strikes against you when you start. Now, as you know, you have the 4 ad spots here on the top of Google. I said people are getting switched in and out, right? And they're trying to see, and this is another key thing that people do not understand. Google has their ad system thrown off an algorithm. It's not much different than the organic search algorithm. It's not a light switch on or off like people want to advertise. Oh, it works. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, off. The people that don't make money, they're all doing that ridiculous crap. Google, as they're testing, they're testing on a keyword by keyword basis. Who's doing the best job getting people to that satisfied state of the 20 people going in and out, hoping that 90% are going to go to the graveyard here because most people aren't doing a good job and they want to separate out the cream from the non-cream here, right? But the other thing that people don't understand, what I was trying to get to, was it's not just on a keyword level this is done. Google tracks everything that you're doing on Google, through the Google app, where you're going. They have all these thousands and thousands of data points on that they are trying to classify each user of Google as high school graduate, goes to coffee shops, is male, has this income, so on and so on and so on and so on. Thousands of data points. And they try to figure out how to classify each user on as many data points as they can. And they build up a file on each person. Okay? So when somebody searches for Italian leather shoes, they're not just trying to see if your ad can get a person from initially inquiry for some reason for that particular keyword, which there could be a mix of people obviously, but as a whole, in general. But they're also sub-segmenting the people searching for that keyword based upon those set of traits that each user it gets penned down as or whatever. So in other words, a good example would be male versus female. So in Italian leather shoes, maybe your ad does a good job bringing a male user to a satisfied state than 19 out of the other 20 people that are getting cycled out at any given time. But the females, you're not doing a good job. So maybe then what they'll do, or not maybe, but this is what they'll do. They'll have your ad show up for Italian leather shoes for males because you do a good job there. But females, you're not going to show up. So respectively, there's different levels to this crap. Okay? How good, maybe you'll be eligible for 10% of the action on that keyword, maybe 50%, maybe 100%. And obviously, as they say, if you try to cater to everybody, you cater to nobody. So maybe the point isn't to get male and female based upon your products, and that's okay. But in general, you get the idea here. The more people on that keyword, of the different thousands of subtypes of users who search for that keyword on any given basis, that you are able to please and get to a satisfied state better than the other people that are trying to advertise to those same people searching for that same keyword in those same subgroups of people that search for that keyword, the more you get. You earn it, and it's earned. And you can't buy it, because if you do too bad of a job, instead of paying $2 a click, you'll pay $20 a click, and nobody's going to keep doing that for very long. I don't care how big of a money bag you have, it'll seem ridiculous, and you'll stop doing it. And you'll eventually, that's Google's way of kind of, telling you that you're not doing a good job versus saying, hey, you're doing a crap job. And obviously they have optimization scores, but really, in quality scores. The quality score is essentially what I'm trying to describe here, the quality score system. But it goes further. And the quality score is calculated from 1 to 10 on each keyword. Yes, based upon how good your ad is in terms of click-through and how good your landing page is. If it gets people to stop what they're doing, did they get what they want? And did they have to go back to Google and click on another ad or something else to get what they wanted? And they're watching every single click and then trying to make a judgment on you based upon on a keyword by keyword basis there, like I said, but also within the keyword, the different categories of people searching for that keyword and trying to decipher out where you should be. Okay, so the better job you do, the more placement you can get. Of course, the better you do, the cheaper the cost per click will be, which means it will be more likely to work. But realistically, Google knows that if they charge you lower than anybody else, given that they are charging already about what the market can bear for a click in that market, having understand it, where the typical tipping point is where people start dropping out because they're charging too much, then naturally that'll encourage you to stay in, and then they've got what they wanted, which is at the end of the day, more than anything else, the top people who can satisfy that search for that type of user for that keyword better than anybody else at any given time, with still allowing people to basically come in and show everybody who they can do it better at any given time. But most of the time, for most searches, for most people, they're going to get the person who they know is doing it the best, okay? And at any given time, nothing's concrete. So you can go in there and you can take over, but because most people don't do a good job, 90% are going to get charged a lot. It's not going to work. They're going to be out. And the last thing I'll say about this before moving on is, no matter how good of a job you do, going back to what I was saying before, you got 2 strikes against you right away when you start. Because Google assumes, because 90% of people don't do as good as the people that are already there, and which they already know are over time doing a good job. So they charge you a lot, kind of as just as part of just to see, how motivated are you to make this work, right? Because if it was working right away, you wouldn't try to improve. And they're trying to push you in the direction saying, okay, it's expensive. Are you going to make the necessary improvements with the data that we're giving you, or are you not? If not, basically we want you to fail. And so no matter, though, my point is, no matter how good a job you're doing, you can't expect it to work right away, because Google's algorithms, not a person. They don't know that your ad's better until you prove to them it's better. And you got to have enough data to do that. And it doesn't take 1 or 2 clicks, it takes hundreds of clicks. So you have to run your ads a lot of times at a loss just to pay the cost for the algorithm to pick up that you're actually better than the existing ads that are there. And that has to be done on each keyword level. So it's not just 500 clicks overall. If you have 50 keywords, that might have to be 10,000 clicks. And the more keywords you have, the more, you get my point. So that's really how the system works on Google. Now, if everyone made more money right away with no effort, nobody would have any incentive to make Google a better place long term, as I've said. So realistically, and here's pretty much how it works. I'll go into the next part here. Ads are not arbitrarily priced. They're actually priced high enough that people can afford it, just to basically the point in which if they charged more, it would be hard to get anybody to come into the system. But as much to where they can actually make as much money for their shareholders, but at the same time, get people to where they have to do a good job. Otherwise, it's just going to be you're doing a little bit worse than everybody else. It'll be just over that threshold, which it's not profitable anymore, and you'll be basically you're gone. And it's a capitalistic type system there, essentially. So they're priced to keep people trying. They want to keep finding the best ones over time, and they want to keep the incumbents that are there improving as well. So what I mean by that is, so the good people, and I touched on this a bit already, the people that are there they already are doing the best, in which they are showing 90% of the time. They don't want them to get lazy either. They want them to keep improving. So they let new young guns come in all the time to try to beat them, and once in a while they will beat them. And now the guy that was sitting pretty before and was making his millions per year because he thought he had it figured out, now he's got to do something to outdo the new guy to stay to get back in the top 4 consistently again. Okay? And then on the flip side, for the new guy that comes in, they want to have you hurry up and try to make your, use the data you have, showing, hey, it's not working. I know I need to make improvements. That if you don't get your act together quick, then you're going to run out of money and you're going to be gone. So it's either you get in, you do it right, and you knock somebody out, which they will then right away try to compensate to knock you out again, and then you kind of are constantly battling. When each person's constantly battling to stay at the top here, then consistently users overall get a better experience because there's a competitive environment that causes everybody to keep improving. And allows new people to come in to kind of push that system so that consistently there's new hungry people that will keep the people there that are there on their toes, but also in which keeps new people out if they're not going to actually try to rise to the level that the people that are already there are and can. Respectively, Google charges you more money right away because you have no data on your ads and because Google already knows that most people aren't, 90% of people aren't going to do as good as the competition here. The reality is, on top of everything, Google assumes you are the one doing a bad job starting out until you prove them otherwise, since most people are. And until you prove them wrong, they will charge you 50 to 75% less, or more if you want to say it. They'll charge you, let's say, 75% more per click until you've got enough clicks for them to understand that your ad's just as good as the top guys. And so your ad will typically not be profitable until you had to have had an ad just as good as the competition, and landing page too, because it's also about that. And you also had to spend money kind of at a loss to earn the lower cost per click that the people that are already there, that have already proven to Google that they're good, to be able to be paying what they're paying, which if you're not paying what they're paying, it's probably not profitable because they're paying as much as they can to get the most sales as they can without going over their margins or to the point where the ROI, it's not profitable anymore, if you get my point. They're trying to get as many clicks as they can at the 8-to-1 ROI or whatever that they're looking for. And so it's not like if you're paying more than them, you're likely going to make it work. You pretty much have to, so you're fighting for your spot, but you're also fighting for the cost per click that they're paying, because that's probably the cost per click you've got to pay to even make it work. And what will work, as long as you have a landing page that does kind of as good as them as well in terms of the conversion rate and getting that person, which is another way of the rate in which that person is satisfied. So realistically, this is the bare bones reality of how the Google Ads system really works. And there's most of the 90% of the people who can't get it to work. They try to run the ads, they run it for a month or two, and then it doesn't work. Their ads and landing pages are probably not good enough to compete in terms of getting the user to a satisfied rate as high as the people who have already been going to start with. But two, even if they are, a lot of people are not making it work because they quit too early. Don't quit too early. They quit before the algorithm figures out they have a good ad and never got the reduction in cost per click they needed to be competitive and pay what the other guys that are affording to make it be there at the top all the time. So respectively, there's that angle as well. Now, the one other thing I'll mention about all this, the guys that are already there too, so you have two strikes against you as far as what Google is going to give for you when you start out. They're going to charge you, 50 to 100% more per click than what the top guys are getting, even if your ad is as good as theirs, until they get enough data to figure it out. But these top guys that are there that have been running ads for years, presumably, they have all the data coming in to tell, so they can run split tests, so they know how to optimize. So when you get in there and you're starting out with no knowledge, and you have just as much knowledge as them, and they've got testing under their belt, you really aren't even going to have a chance. So if you're really going to, make sure that you're not going to have to spend mountains and mountains of money to gather all that data, and really what it takes is you got to have an ad and a landing page that goes beyond what you see they have right from the start, so that it doesn't, instead of being profitable in a year, it's profitable in 6 weeks or something like that, if you get my point. Because a lot of people can't be not profitable for a year while they learn all the things that the people that are already there and have been there for a long time have went through the process of learning and figuring out themselves. And a lot of times these people are there now. They figured it out when Google was cheaper and there was less competition. In 2022, everybody's tried Google Ads. It's in a market where anybody can technically do what you do. You're going to probably need a PPC expert who understands the core concepts of what makes an ad and a landing page generally work better, or can look at what the competition has, and then based upon their knowledge, automatically set you up with one that is better, fundamentally better. They don't have the data to prove it, but they know pretty much will work better when you go in for the first time. Versus what the average person's going to do is they're going to send people to not a landing page, but a random page on their site, and they're going to have an ad. They don't know how to write an ad, and there's no chance that that's going to compete with the people that are there. You're not going to get shown, and you're going to, on top of that, be charged so much per click that you can't afford to make money after all your expenses anyway. So, long story short, if you're going to get into it, as much as most people want to say, well, I'll invest time in it, I'll invest money in it when I know it works. If you take that approach, you're going to be in the 90% that doesn't make it work. If you go in and say, I'm going to spend a few $1,000s before I even run a single ad, you could run ads and see for yourself how hard it is. But I'm going to spend $5,000, $10,000 setting up an amazing landing page and get a decent campaign set up. You don't need everything day one. Start with one set of keywords for one use case that people buy your product or service for, and just nail it. Do it. Try to do it three times better than the competition's doing it before you ever get started. And you got to have somebody who really knows what they're doing to be able to do that kind of analysis and actually deliver, which is two different things there you got to have. Then go ahead and do it. And then at that point, once you'll still be running at a loss initially until you've got some data for Google to lower your cost per click. But at least then, you're basically guaranteed to make it work. Because as soon as Google figures it out, that your landing page is more appealing than the competition, which that right there is 70% of the equation, if you didn't know it, the landing page itself, and whether or not that gets people to convert at a high rate or not, and how it's laid out, and the professionalness of this, and knowing that you have enough information but not too much. It's an art form to do a landing page well. But it's just inevitable at that point. If you did it that way, you're going to lose money for the first couple months as your ads get broken in and Google learns how to run them. But I'm going to have something that for sure that's going to make money, and this ad is going to likely run for years. And this landing page and ad that I have will run for years. And whatever that first 2 months I lost, that's literally pocket change versus what I'm going to make. The winners in PPC are thinking about it that way, not I'm going to try it for a little bit, and when it works, then I'll hire somebody to do it right. Because the people that are there on the top probably started when it was easier, like I said. Now they have money for a PPC expert. That expert's been, even if most of the people aren't very good, if you're hiring PPC experts, like 90% of them aren't good. You can ask around, you'll hear the same thing, not just me saying it. But even with a mediocre person or even a crappy person with enough time, enough money, they've gotten enough improvements on it where it is going to be hard for you to compete directly with it without PPC knowledge, but just with marketing knowledge yourself, because there's certain things with PPC that you got to know by having done PPC before to compete in this system. So anyway, spend your first 5 or 10K on the best, first campaign and landing page you can set up. Go at it. Know that it's better than your competition. You'll have a good experience versus the experience 90% of people are going to get that are in and out all the time in your market and basically say it's too hard. Hopefully that makes sense for a lot of you guys that are going to start out with Google Ads, why it hasn't worked in the past, what you got to actually do to make it work. I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. If you want to make a ton of money with PPC, I highly recommend you check them out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them to guarantee results for our clients here. If you'd like information along those lines, you can find it there. If you have any questions about this system, starting out, things you need to know that I didn't quite cover, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment or question on this channel, usually within a day or two. But apart from that, hope you really got something out of this video and were entertained by it. and I hope to see you in my next video where I cover another great actual money-making strategy you can use to apply to your PPC campaigns itself in another day or two. See you there.